Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and we have a very cool rifle to take a look at today, although it probably doesn't look like a whole lot from back there. This was put together by DS Arms, and they actually had one of these at their booth at SHOT Show 2025 this year. But I don't think very many people actually looked at it closely, because it doesn't really look like a lot. You don't recognize until you pick it up that this is a 7.5-pound FAL. That's 3.4 kilos for those of you metric folks. That's stupidly light for a FAL. You pick this up and it feels like a lightweight AR, not a full power 7.62 NATO battle rifle. Now, I don't know whether to call this a custom gun or a very limited production run or a technology demonstrator, because it's kind of a little bit of all three of those. What happened was DSA, and I don't know the details on the backstory here, but DSA got their hands on billet titanium, specifically TI 6AL4V, or titanium aluminum vanadium alloy. It's TI64 is sort of the common name for the alloy. It's a common titanium alloy, as much as titanium is common in anything. And they got enough billets of it to make a dozen upper receivers for FALs, as well as a handful of other small parts. And I think they just thought this would be kind of a cool thing, not really recognizing just how much work would go into it. Because as it turns out, they ended up making 9 semi-auto rifles, 1 full-auto post-sample rifle, and 2 scrap pieces of trash that they had to throw away. The machining requirements for titanium are way in excess of steel or aluminum. They basically had to have someone watching the machine the entire time it was running to, like, at a moment's notice, shut down the machine in case one of the cutting tools chipped or anything went wrong. In fact, they did, as I said, end up scrapping 2 of these things in the manufacturing process. Just like to try and avoid any scrap, they actually made full runs of aluminum parts just to prove the tooling and the CNC programming. Like, they'd set everything up, put in aluminum in lieu of titanium, machine it all the way through to make sure everything worked well, then set it up again with the titanium billet, and still have their best machinist there just watching the thing in case anything went wrong. Because titanium is really hard. This was really hard on their cutting tools. At any rate, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Once you have a titanium receiver, well, what do you do with it? Obviously, you want to take advantage of its lightweight. Titanium is about 56% the weight of steel, so this titanium upper receiver is about 10 ounces lighter than a standard steel upper receiver. That's 5/8 of a pound, that's half a kilo. That's a significant amount of weight, and it's that's a big part of what allows this thing to be a stupidly lightweight FAL. Now, they did a couple of other parts as well. On this particular one, the flash hider is also titanium. And then they experimented with titanium gas blocks. That didn't really go so well. The titanium heats up in the gas block faster than steel because titanium is a lot less dense than steel, hence its lighter weight. It doesn't have as much heat capacity. So the gas blocks heated up. They decided that wasn't a great thing to do. And they ended up sticking with basically just flash hiders and receivers, and then building a lightweight style of FAL. So it has a 16-inch barrel. It has a number of other parts on here. Well, it has some aluminum parts. The top cover is aluminum. The trigger frame assembly here is aluminum. The charging handle is aluminum. The charging handle bar is aluminum. The handle itself is plastic. A lot of things to reduce weight there, and they end up with this remarkably handy lightweight gun. Let me show you it up close, and then we'll take it out to the range. Let me put this in a little bit of perspective real quick for those of you guys who aren't total FAL nerds. This is a totally generic, typical, standard military pattern FAL. It has a full 21-inch barrel, all the regular parts. This is actually one of the Belgian Gendarmerie clone guns, which DSA also made from an FN parts kit that was released a couple years ago. This thing weighs 9 pounds, 14 ounces. That's without a magazine. That is like just shy of 4.5 kilograms. This thing, the titanium one, weighs in at 7 pounds, 7 ounces. That's 3.39 kilograms, again, without a magazine. That's a huge difference. Like, that's over 2 pounds difference. It's over a kilo different, and 1 kilogram may not sound like a lot, but the difference in handling between these two is really shocking. All right, we've got DS arms markings here on the right side of the receiver. On the left side, we have their model designation. This is still just an SA58 standard FAL, 762 by 51 millimeter, and the serial number has a T prefix, and this is number 8 of the titanium ones that they did. So a few of the lightweight features: the charging handle, like I said, aluminum and plastic. They removed the carry handle entirely, save a little bit of weight there. It's got standard handguards. It's got a standard profile barrel, although it is a 16-inch barrel, so shorter than the original military standards, although there were military contracts for 16-inch FALs, both fixed and folding stock. They left the sling swivels on. You could save a few grams by taking those off. The flash hider on this one is also made of titanium. Now, titanium does spark, so it'll be interesting to see if this looks any different at the range during the day and possibly at night, although I'm not really concerned about it at night. They went with a fixed stock because that's actually substantially lighter than the folding stock. This one's pretty beat up, but if you look at the folding stock assembly on a FAL, it's all metal instead of essentially foam-filled plastic like the fixed stock. So a folder seems like an obvious choice on a short, light gun. In this case, it would have added a significant amount of weight to the thing. One of the other things that I really like that they did here is they chose to use a Dutch pattern rear sight. So this has a pair of protective wings and a fixed aperture inside that is, I believe, set for a 250 meter zero. This is a style of sight that would later be used on paratrooper folding stock guns, but it was originally developed for the standard pattern of Dutch FAL. It is windage zeroable. You just move the whole rear sight assembly left to right. It just doesn't have the range adjustment options of the more typical normal FAL rear sight that we're used to, and there's actually a little bit less metal, so it's a little bit lighter. The lower frame here is aluminum, lower receiver you might call it. The top cover is also stamped aluminum instead of steel. You save a little bit of weight there. The guys at DSA actually kind of ran through and did a study on where they could save weight with every individual component part of the FAL. And the receiver is obviously the single biggest area, but you could actually get almost as much weight savings from like 6 or 8 other parts as you can from the receiver itself. Things like this screw that holds the upper and lower together. The buttstock screw is actually a surprisingly heavy part made out of steel. Things like that, the gas block, of course, which they did experiment with. Parts like that, if all made out of titanium, could net you another like close to 3/4 of a pound of weight reduction. However, it just didn't end up being worth the effort for DSA. It sounds like having done 10 of these guns, 9 semis and a full auto, they're done with them. They have no interest in doing it again because the amount of work that it took and the distraction from other projects they were trying to do just really isn't worth it for anything short of a truly ludicrous price on the guns. All right, I'm sure the question at this point is, it's cool that it's lightweight and all, but how much does it suck to shoot? How much recoil are you getting through this thing that would be mitigated by the extra 2 pounds or more in a regular FAL? So let's take this out to the range and let's find out. All right, first shots using an original FN aluminum magazine. That's zeroed, and you know what? Well, the concussion is beating the crap out of poor Jordan with the camera.
It's not the concussion.
Are you getting hit by brass?
Right in the face.
All right, well, I was gonna say the recoil's actually not bad at all. I was concerned about whether this would be, you know, really super heavy because the gun's so much lighter than a normal FAL. It really isn't. You want to change angle a little bit so you don't get hit right in the face?
I'm going to go to this side.
I'll say that if you're getting hit in the face where you were standing, that's a primo perfect ejection pattern. It's definitely got, you know, some spunk to it, but that's not at all bad to shoot. To be completely sure about this, to be fair with it, I have brought a second FAL with me. That Belgian gendarmerie pattern gun, well, I figured let's bring it out as a side-by-side comparison. It's really not that much different. Recoil is about a whole lot more than just the weight of the gun. It's about the velocity of the bolt and bolt carry, the velocity of the reciprocating parts as they move, how fast they're going when they impact the back end of the action. If the gun is sprung well and has a proper locking dynamic, you can have a fairly light gun and not have a tremendous amount of felt recoil. Yeah, this is more than the full pattern, you know, full standard regular FAL, but it's not like it's bad. It's a, I don't know, 10 or 20% increase in kick, which I would happily take for the light handling of this thing. I can almost hit that Minimo head and center from close to 100 yards here. That's cool. All right, I am indeed very excited about this. There is definitely more recoil to it, but not a bad amount of recoil. Something that and I think most people would probably happily accept in trade for cutting 2 pounds off the weight of the gun. So big thanks to DSA for sending this over. Let's do some shooting with it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.